This is a video on how to replace the door seal on a Paykel or Elba freestanding range. Tools you're going to need are going to be a Phillips screwdriver and 2 flat blade screwdrivers of some description. To remove the door on these ovens, you just lift the door up and slide it out. The hinge bar sits in a groove and this pin here locks down in. So you're just lifting that out before you slide the door out. This one's already had a new seal on, so I'm going to pop it off and then I'll show you putting it back on again. Obviously when you're removing an old seal, often they're perished and come apart in pieces. You may or may not have a trim panel along the front here. There are 2 screws up and under each side that you'll need to undo Phillips screws to get that out of the way. I've only got one hand, so I'll just do that back in a second. In some model Paykel such as this one, that's actually a Torx T20 rather than a Phillips screw in there. So why you're taking that off is that we've got one screw here which is actually holding the oven cavity in place, and that is a Phillips screw or a 1/4 inch socket if you've got it. And we're just going to take that one out. On some ovens these screws are actually kind of rusted, or the holes they're screwed into can be quite rusted, so they may not be particularly tight to start with. Basically this oven in a assembly is got a lip here and the seal sitting behind that lip. So what we want to do is use a flat blade screwdriver to prise that lip out and then pull the seal out. Give me a sec. And so once it's out, the seal will just pull right out. Now again, if you have a purist seal, it'll probably come out in pieces, and often that's when you're going to use a screwdriver to try and pick the pieces out and get them to the left or right, and just praise it down to get edges. Now when you're putting one of these seals on, if you look at the profile, I've seen a lot of people get this wrong. This fat piece here is sitting underneath that lip. This lip here seals against the outside of the oven, and this piece here is the big seal that actually seals on the door. I've seen some people try and put this great big lip here underneath behind there, and I've seen some people successfully do it. I do not know how, but yeah. So looking at the seal now, it's going to go that way around, and obviously this is the left hand side because it's going to have that lip going under it. The process here, again, it's going to be really hard to show you with only one hand, but basically I'm going to use one screwdriver to prise this out, and then I'm going to get the edge started. Then what I'm going to do basically is, once I have the seal sitting in like this, I'm going to have the screwdriver sitting above, and I'm just going to prise out with one hand and push it in with my fingers. I'll get this one started and I'll try and show you again with one hand. To know where to start the seal, there's actually a little lip which is really not visible on this model. Just trying to look if it's visible. You can actually see, if you run your finger down you'll feel it, and usually you want to start the seal at or just below that little point. Where along here this is a 90-degree bend, and then in here this lip is going in just past 90 degrees. It's kind of bent around a bit more, and that gives you a good point. You obviously don't want to start one side too low, or else when you get to the other side it'll be too high. So I've got the seal started here, and there's that thick part which I'm pushing, the thick doubled over part which I'm pushing in behind. This one's actually loose enough I can actually do it almost by hand. I'm just laying the seal like that and then just rotating my fingers in to clip it, push it around the edge. Usually I would have my second hand with the other screwdriver coming in here and just gently prizing that out a little bit and then going piece by piece all the way along. But this one is going in for the most part quite easily. And basically just going to do that all the way around. Along the top here I am going to need the screwdriver. And what you're looking for down here is that this little wee stubby lip, which is that little wee short wing, just going to focus, wing there, is sitting up against that. If you push too far, it may be pushed all the way in, like that, which case you just got to give it a bit of a pull back out. And if the seal's not in properly, if you run your finger down here, it should sit nice and smooth. If you haven't actually got the fat part of the seal in behind, then you'll feel bumps and lumps, in which case you need to either just try and push it back in or pull it out and start again. Alright, put the screwdriver there. I'll just wedge that in there so I can still do it one-handed. So I've put the seal in, and if I run my fingers down here, I actually can feel it's all right there, but up along here something's not quite right, and it's gone a bit too fast, so I just need to pull that down to let it reseat. Now these hinges these seals often perish because of the hinges, so you are going to need to check your hinges if your door seal's wrong. So now I've got that, I just need to put a screw back in there and then put that clamp back on. If your screw up here where it's screwing into is rusted out and you're not getting in there, I wouldn't worry about it too much. The seal's not going to come out as such, and depending on how old your oven is, it's probably going to be the metal it chews into is going to get rusted out. We would usually put a larger screw in, but you're probably going to be limited on that. So you need to check your hinges. Now there's a couple of things on these hinges, some of which you can't see if you get it open. When you open and shut the door, you might have quite a banging sound. That usually means your pins are worn out. But the actual hinge itself is this pin here. If you use one hand just to, usually it's the pin which wears a bigger hole in the arm. I'm just going to put a screwdriver in there. If you take this arm and wriggle it backwards and forwards, I've got no play because these hinges are alright. If you get to the point where you can actually move this arm enough and you can actually see the hole the pin is sitting in, it's so large you're seeing the edges of the hole, then your hinges are pretty much worn out. You can't get the individual pins and hinges kits now. You get a whole kit with absolutely everything you need, including the springs, which depending where you get it from is going to be somewhere north of $100 for a kit. So I'll just put those hinges in the grooves and just keep wriggling them all the way until they drop down into place, and it should be pulling up nicely against that seal. If you've got it hanging slightly open, then that's your hinges, probably what's been sitting open, and that extra heat has caused the seal to corrode. Another test you can do is put it on a fan function, and when it's shut you should hear a change because you'll be able to hear the fan easier when you pull the door open. If you have to push it closed to hear the change, then you know it's sitting just ajar, and when you're pushing it closed it's sealing, and so again it's your hinges.